It is good to be back. It's been a while. This is Solomon Offem welcoming you to Editors Forum, the program where we bring you the latest happenings in Nigeria and of course around the world, talking about sports, business, politics, just name it. We analyze all of these things from the journalist point of view. Once again, I'm Solomon Offem. Normalcy seemed to be returning to Nigeria after about 2 weeks of chaos when young Nigerians stormed the streets of Nigeria protesting against police brutality. And well, this is what we're going to be talking about today on Editors Forum. Basically, and of course we'll be taking a look at the president's broadcast after days of pleading for him to address the nation. He finally did. And we're going to be analyzing his speech, his broadcast. Once again, I'm Solomon Offem. We'll go for a break. When we come back, I have my guests. I'll introduce them and we'll start talking. Stay with us.
Has yielded to the demands of Nigerians, and the special anti-robbery squad has been scrapped. We don't know. Maybe they have another motive behind that. Maybe they want to upturn a democratically elected government.
One heart for one cause, we're determined to rebuild and restore. Where freedom, rights, and truth prevails, our land where there's hope for us all. Our land where there's hope for us all. We'll defend our land. We believe in this nation.
And how they interact with the youths, because the government is so far away from the youths.
We the youths, really, we are strong about it. It's not about giving money
about being given this or that. It's about what we really want, not for us, but for the future generation behind us.
No nation without youth. That is the truth.
We believe
If you're just tuning in, this is Galaxy Television and the program is Editors Forum. Of course, no other thing to talk about today other than the End SARS and End Police Brutality protests, which happened, and of course the resultant effect. I have Inyamgo Agaji in the house today. He's a broadcast journalist. Good to have you join us on the program today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
I also have a regular on the show. When I was presenting this program a long time ago, what looks like 30 years now. I have a Yemi Saka in the house. He's a journalist and a public commentator. Good to have you again.
This is the Yemi Saka.
Oh, that's Yemi Saka. Okay, I wanted to introduce Ayo Banje. I know you. Oh. Well, I'm a little rusty, but it's okay. I'll be back.
It's the time.
Okay, good to have you join us. Now to my far right.
Yeah.
And of course, in the middle of the park, I have Ayo Baji, a public affairs analyst. He's the person I wanted to say with
I know,
me
so I
together.
don't think it's credit.
Okay, good to have you again join us.
A great pleasure.
Yeah, like 30 something years ago.
We're all still kids.
Yeah. Okay, now I don't know where to start. Let me start by asking a general question. Let me get your summation, of this whole thing, the past 2 weeks. Starting from you, sir.
Okay, well, I believe what we now know as NSAS is just a result of bottled up emotions that didn't start with this administration anyway, but may have been escalated or something immediate had caused it in this administration, but it has been there from time. We remember that in the 70s, I think, Fela used to sing about police brutality in some of his songs and all that, the kind of things that were going on. But right now, I would say the people have decided to take the bull by the horns because they are bold enough to do that. Not that the people before them have not been bold enough to do some of the things, but now it got to a head where they couldn't bottle in their emotions anymore, and they came out to the streets to do what they needed to do, or they felt that they needed to do. So while I'm talking about NSAS, I'm not talking about an administration that we're experiencing right now. I'm talking about failure in government that has been over the years, that has now reached a point where those who can, those who are courageous enough, like I said, have gone to the streets to demand for what is rightly theirs. Like everybody in Nigeria has been saying, it's a legitimate demand to end SARS or to end police brutality, and some of the reforms that they have mentioned, because NSAS has metamorphosed into something else. It's not just SARS or police they're talking about other things that have gone wrong.
Good governance generally.
Yeah, things that should be put in place that have not been put in place over the years. So right now, while we're discussing this, we need to know that no matter what the outcome has become now, no matter what it has degenerated into now, there's some kind of win that we have had, because right now I think the leadership will know that the people have a voice, and it's either you let them or you give them the opportunity to let their feelings known in a very peaceful way, or sometimes it might result into a revolution that we are seeing right now. So while NSAS, or while some of the things that are happening here are regrettable, the initial reason why the people took to the streets is very legitimate, and Nigerians largely are in support of it.
Let me hear you, sir.
Thank you very much. Why do we have government in place? That is a critical question. Section 14, subsection 2B of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, states it clearly. The primary purpose of government is to guarantee security of every citizen and provide for their welfare. Where these two items have been violated or are not met up with, then what do we have? That's exactly what we are saying now. You see, a government is supposed to be the father figure, to provide and to protect. When those two things are absent, then it leads to what we have, with us now, the chaos, the anarchy. I mean, there is no respect for the sanctity of human life. We've seen that from up down. That is, those who are supposed to protect the life, they are not doing their duties. And if you read the history of how this SARS came into place, it was because some policemen killed a particular soldier, and then the soldiers took to the streets, and before you know it, in terms of trying to curtail the crisis, then they came up with SARS, Special Anti-Robbery Squad. But it has also metamorphosed over the years, and what we have now, the situation of you just see youths that have dreadlocks, they have an iPhone or they have a laptop, and stop them along the street. I've witnessed that.
And resulted into profiling.
Yes, profiling. I was afraid when this happened. I mean, the one that I witnessed. And then somebody called me and said a father and a son, they were traveling from here, to the north. And the police just stopped them and said, this boy should come down. And that the vehicle should go. Just because they saw him and they believed that he must be an armed robber. I mean, it is outrageous for someone to come up with such a mental orientation that is profiling somebody and already thinking that fellow is is a criminal, or he has a criminal tendency.
It's already been labeled.
Yes, already labeled. So that mindset, I think it has led to what we are seeing now. For me, I stand with the youths. It's only that it's unfortunate that it has been taken over by hoodlums, by different types of characters and all the rest. But someone like me, I've won severally through my writings. The last was in 2018. Unemployment, youth unemployment, a ticking time bomb. And see, we have seen it now. So I think the government should ask itself critical questions. Why are we here? What are our duties? Are we performing our duties? Are we protecting? Or what do we see? We see power for the self instead of for the state. We are finding it difficult to understand a set of leaders, even under a democratic dispensation, that cannot sacrifice the self for the state. They cannot sacrifice the self for the good of the people. Late President Musa Yar'Adua did mention it. It's service to the people. It's not about the self. And we cannot continue like this. I mean, you can see one of the issues that has come to the public sphere now, the humongous pay package of the political office holders. I've written about this severally. How do we have in government people that in the whole world, their salaries are you cannot just quantify, and you ask yourself, what is it about governance that is it rocket science? We are clamoring that put these people on civil salary scale and no pension for them. Yes, then those who are really ready to serve this country will come forward, and then they'll be there to do the right thing. Now, I want a situation whereby there will be a holistic look at what is happening. I listened to Mr. President, and I felt that there were some things on behalf of the Guild of the Public Affairs Analysts. Immediately, I set up more or less a press release that Mr. President will have used this as a golden opportunity to address some critical issues like, what is happening has shown us that the imperative of holistic restructuring of this country. The northern governors say they want SARS, and then the southern governors don't want it. You look at the operation of the SARS, and you discover that they were carrying out most of their heinous activities right in the, either in the southwest or southeast or south-south. You see that. So when people are clamoring for restructuring, it is in the best interest of this country. That is one issue that should have looked at. I was highly disappointed too that there was no mention of, more or less compensation for the victims or their families.
We'll talk about that. We'll analyze this.
But then we must face the truth. We have been deceiving ourselves in this country for far too long. The time to face the truth and, you know, really let the truth be known. This is the time.
Well, for me, it's quite pathetic the way things turned out. But the NSAS demonstration protest is a long overdue, like the panelists have said. I've been at the receiving end of.
I mean, there was one part of it in 2017, but it didn't see the light of the day.
No, I'm really going to there's hardly a family or a building or a street in Lagos or across Southwest, Southeast that has not experienced, perhaps someone that has experienced or something related to SARS brutality. There was a time it is not trying to attempt self-adulation. I got to Yanapaja one evening around 2013. There was mad traffic. I stepped into the middle into it with some last mile officials, and we're trying to control the traffic. And one man drove in just true insane self, reckless. Now I was like, "Why are you doing this?" The next thing the guy brought out his rifle with 3 magazines strapped around. I said I was going to waste time, nothing will happen, because I questioned him why it was disturbing or probably disrupting the effort trying to instill sanity into the chaos we found there. SARS over time is an aberration. The Police Act that was just thrown out by the courts, the section 34 to 37, never gave room for creation of SARS. So whether we like it or we've been operating an illegality for so long. And the call from SARS, end SARS and reform the police was a good one, was a patriotic one. And I guess some people, and like he said, I think it's time for us to restructure, because even in our call for end SARS and the protest that was ongoing, we saw a restructured protest going on. While we were saying we wanted them to end SARS in southern Nigeria, the northern Nigeria were saying that was when they woke up. Then they stopped, sorry for my children, because they said they woke up from being a little bit pissed to being pissed and demanding for end to banditry and kidnapping and what's happening. Now, it brings us back to why we're here. The political class saw it as a threat to their governance. Whether they like, I will say this, and I think this was the first time in a very long while in the history of Nigeria, maybe before independence, where you had the youngs or the younger version of Awolowo and now moving the motion for independence. This was the first time in the history of Nigeria that the youth, the most vital, the largest demographic in our population were united on a cause. And they knew what that was going to snowball into. It was going to be a movement. Not that they were going to form a political party. Not that they were going to start sponsoring candidates. But
I mean, most of them aren't even politicians.
They hold on to power, relevance, and political investment, dynasty, and what was threatened and got us to where we are. But for me, whether we like it or not, we will still come back to this NSAS. As long as I saw a thread on Twitter yesterday, when the guys alleged that SARS operatives arrested somebody that even showed them a valid ID card he had a medical emergency to attend to. They arrested him. They removed the license plate of his vehicle, planted a pistol in his car, and said he was one of those people that went to vandalize the Palace of Oba of Lagos. It's on Twitter. And this is a SARS that the IGP has said has been disbanded. This is a SARS that Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, will come to that later, has been disbanded, because sometimes these people play with our intelligence. 3 days ago, I saw a statement released by, he called himself Yemi Osinbajo. Not Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. I'm like wondering, why are you trying to insult my intelligence? So are you Yemi Osinbajo now, not Vice President Yemi Osinbajo? So when you look at the pronouncements of government over time, like he said, it's been a problem with us over the years. Police recruitment has been faulty. I listened to the former chair of Nigerian Human Rights Commission, Professor Chidi Odinkalu. He said there have been series and lots of police reforms committee that has been set up to reform the police. He cited the same thing that was in the MD Yusuf's report, and was also in Osanyade's report, that the recruitment process of the police is so bad that the police has ended up with an undesirable workforce. Whether we like it or not, we have criminals on the force. A senator said it on the floor of the Senate. I grew up in an area. There was a guy that was so notorious everywhere. They called the place. He carved a colony for himself in a secondary school, Apostolic Church Grammar School, popularly known as Apollo. 10-15 years later, when I saw the guy, I saw him in a mobile police uniform as a Mopo officer. How did he get something force? So when we're calling for this, well, you know the good thing, and the sad thing where the message is this: if you don't reform the police, you can't guarantee public safety. As long as there's not public safety, there's going to be saboteurs and threats to your sovereignty from internal aggressors. And whether you like it or not, you're toying with your sovereignty. So if you don't reform the police, and the police there's corruption everywhere, there's police brutality everywhere. There are bad cops, bad police officers everywhere. My father tells me, God should rest his soul, that corruption is a bad word. And you have the word bad and good is an English word. That means an Englishman is even bad, and an Englishman is corrupt. So I'm not saying you want 100% holistic, good police force. No matter, in every church there's always a Judas. So do the math.
But in this case, when you have 11 Judas,
there's no Peter, there's no John,
11 Judas.
You have 12 bad disciples.
Good.
Why the huge question now? Why this generation of youths? Because now there have been several theories floating around that the past generation seem to be probably because of over the years of military rule, they've developed thick skin. So when we're now having a bad civilian rule, well, a bad civilian rule is way better than military rule. So they seem to have developed this thick skin. So they've gotten used to bad leadership, which this generation of youths don't have, not gotten used to.
I disagree.
Now,
I disagree.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, so it's as if the older generations were just okay with it, and there's another angle of it. Well, the older generation used to praying. I mean, you hardly go to any church or mosque where they don't have a segment on a Friday Jumat prayer or a Sunday meeting where they don't pray for Nigeria. So they're just contented with praying for Nigeria and no action.
I wouldn't say so. First of all, the people who fought for the independence of Nigeria, how old were they? They were youths. When Gowon became the head of state of Nigeria, how old was he? About 35.
No, it was only 29.
29. He was a youth. So you see that over time, youths have been doing what they can do, granted what is available to them at that time.
What happened after that is the question now. I mean, after the independence, what happened to the generation after the Awolowo generation and the...
I wouldn't say there's a generation that has not fought, maybe not gone to the streets the way this one has gone. But this one has an advantage because they also have the internet, which further connects them. NSAS, by the way, started on the internet, on Twitter and all that. So it united them. The older generation didn't have that. So
and of course, they're used to Hollywood movies where they see how it happens better in some other country.
Or not. Everything is a phone call away now. It's a tweet away now. Everything is so easy. Even when they talk about, let me digress a little bit, when they talk about rape now, some people think rape started in our time. It didn't. But now you know that someone is raped in Kaduna just sitting inside your house. Those days it wasn't like that.
There was no information.
There was information. It couldn't move as fast as it's moving now. So I don't agree that the youths of those days have not done what they should do. In their time, they did what they could have done. But it gets to a time when you have been fighting all the fight. Take for instance, Wole Soyinka brought up the cultism, as they say, to Nigeria because he wanted to fight a cause, the oppression of the people that he felt shouldn't oppress them. So he brought it into Nigeria. In his time, he was a youth and he was fighting. So they were fighting according to what was available to them. But I'd say this generation has been able to do this because they are closely knit, because of the availability of internet and the information that can go around and fast. That is what I think is an advantage for these people. But I would not agree to the point that no other generation has fought.
Okay,
I don't think so.
I'll go back to you. Let me hear.
I think to build on what you have said and to complement it, it goes beyond that. Yes, the world is now a global village. It's small and you can disseminate information faster. than before. You can even coordinate people. But there's one vital thing we're missing out in our history as a country. Was this generation we're blaming fought a civil war. And the mistrust, the mistrust among ethnic, in fact, they witnessed the first coup, the counter coup that resulted into the civil war. And the mistrust was deep and deeply entrenched in the system, in the psyche and everything. And over the years, we get to water it down. When I was younger, the reason my mom never allowed me to go to NMS was because it wasn't enough. But I can tell authoritatively that the last 10 years I've spent the better part of my days in northern Nigeria and southern Nigeria. We've gone beyond that. So I think internet technology, social media has made us evolve, beyond the era of hate and deep mistrust, because that's one thing. So with that in place, they cannot galvanize themselves and have a common front. Ethnic and as we're saying, even in our own generation with all this technology and what have you, the ranks was still broken into with tribal and religious sentiment. And whether you like it or not, we still have, as much as you try, you have converts, you have people that believe in such dogma, and you have some that will not. But we could say years away from the world being a global village, we've been able to move beyond the deep mistrust along ethnic and religious divide, and we could trust each other more. And that's what contributed to this massive success. Not that the other events have not been successful, not that other effort has not been successful. Whether we like it or not, we need to credit the older generation for democracy we've been enjoying since 1999. Whether we like it or not, we still have to give credit to that generation. Even the so-called military rule, dictators and what have you, for even building the infrastructure. National Theatre in Gombe was built by the military. I've never seen anything else. Goyapa was built by the General Sani Abacha. Third Mainland Bridge, since 1999, Third Mainland Bridge has been a campaign topic. We've not seen anything like that. Abuja Kaduna Expressway, you could say things. So they did their best. They did the best with what was available to them at the time. The generation coming, I feel that our generation is even dull compared to the future, the ones coming. My nephew, the things he says to me, I'm like, sorry, you're a genius, but it's not. He's just a normal guy.
Okay, let me just round it up for us.
No,
as the elder on the table.
Yes, thank you so much. If you read the book Storms on the Niger by Mukugo Okoye, that chronicles, the evolution of the Nigerian nation, right from the world stage, that of Africa to this, you discover that over time there are some people that have had that passion, that fervor, that spirit of patriotism to call for at least change at one point or the other. I always mention one Professor Eyo Ita. He was a professor of philosophy and education in 1933. He returned to this country and he was the one who founded Nigerian Youth Movement. When those in Lagos discovered the Koli and some other people, they felt that what this man is all about is about the Nigerian nation and how can we galvanize our youths, to start asking for independence. They took it over here in Lagos and the thing expanded. As at 1947, when Zik, who was then in Ghana, learned about the movement, he had to relocate from Ghana to Nigeria, and with time, Zikism started. So you discover that at one point or the other, there have been some group of youths that have thought about the larger picture of the Nigerian nation. Some youths that sacrifice their time, their resources, their money, to ensure that the military left the political space is the same thing. So what we have seen over time is that this set of young Nigerians, as at that time, they were brought up to evolve, to imbibe the spirit of nationalism. There was an allegiance between them and the nation state. I used to say this, and I've said it here before. I remember very well October 1, 1960. I was a primary school, pupil I remember going to, the school field and people coming, the lowering of the Union Jack, the hoisting of the green flag, and then when we were going back home, they gave us, some things that were branded with the national flag, teacup, some other gift items and all the rest. So, and then you were brought up to believe that I have a country, like I said, that provides and protects. So that allegiance to the nation state was even further. For me, and I keep saying it, I will tell people that I paid school fees only 1 year in my entire education journey in 1966 as a Form 1 student.
Now education
yes,
is for the rich.
let me tell you, scholarship. So how will I not come out and believe that, yes, I have a country called Nigeria? But now, two things have happened. One, these people that we are talking about now, apart from the influence and the impact of the information technology, they have seen, one, that their leaders are separated from them, they and we. There is a disconnection, there is a lacuna,
a very huge
one, that they don't believe in that. Two, the leaders are coming to you, to browbeat, that is the policies, the programs are not, they do not evolve from the people. These people that are in power believe they know it all, and they will tell you what to do, and they want to use force and fiat. I've written about it and I said, no, this is not how to govern the country. So you don't want the youth to talk, you bring different set of laws to stifle them. So the anger has been piling, and then it has exploded. I am just praying that things should be put in place to prevent further degeneration of what we have seen now. Yeah, because this is anarchy.
Things might be put in place and you expect more oppressive and pardon my French, oppressive and imbecilic laws coming out of the National Assembly. They expect them to be very oppressive with the bills and acts you'll be seeing coming out of the National Assembly and not already assented by Mr. President. They are very predictable. You know them.
So now let's go back to the protest. How did things go so bad? I mean, it was largely a peaceful one, and all of a sudden it plunged into chaos. How did you think it went bad?
It went bad. I think I said it in my opening remarks when the politician wanted to discredit at all cost. I will cite an instance, the first attempt to attack protesters at Alausa, which was resisted by the protester demonstrators or guys on the street. And you ask yourself, when people say pity Sanwo-Olu, he has lost weight, he's on the ground, I don't pity him, and I will not. And I'll cite an instance.
In the real sense of easy was supposed to be.
I will not, and I'll tell you why I won't. Okay, because there are a lot of things that could have been done to nip things in the bud.
Exactly.
The guy that his picture was widely circulated, that was holding a cutlass, that was threatening to attack protesters. People came up with his identification. They got his name. They put. Till we speak, has that guy been arrested? A bus, this new BRT corridor that goes in from Alausa, what have you, the new buses, was allegedly conveyed those guys to Alausa. They get the quota. People came up with the number of the bus and everything. Did we hear anything from Lagos State government about it? And we could look at another criminal negligence of the police. In fact, I've said it publicly. I said when dust is settled, I think it's time for Lagos State government to sue the Nigerian police force, the IGP, the Nigerian police, the Lagos State command, and the CP for criminal negligence. So when it was a desperation, because they didn't see it as a call to service, to jolt them into taking action, some drastic decisions, not drastic, some.
I mean, as far as most of them are concerned, the protest is against them.
No, because some people, they felt the protest was against President Muhammadu Buhari.
Exactly, and that's very, very bad aspect of it. It's annoying.
Let me give you an instance. As much as we criticize the police and everything, yes, I'm not blaming Nigerians, and I will not sit here and blame Nigerians. But Nigerians too grew up with a corrupt police system, where police officer will arrest you for violating traffic rule. And instead of you thinking of calling your lawyer you probably won't think of calling one honorable, one councillor.
Or maybe another senior police
Another
friend
senior police friend.
that you have.
But when you get to reform the police, the corporal on the street, the sergeant on the street, the inspector on the street will probably do his job, and the police doing his job with no interference. But the police are used to this, the corrupt system in place. And that is where they can just dictate. In fact, I would say, I'm not saying them, say third party. I've been victim of it. Where police have been arrested once for wandering when they came to pick me in a barber's shop at 2 p.m. When I got to the police station, the badly, poorly educated inspector on desk was trying to dictate my statement for me. And I told him, no, I will not. It's a waste of my parents' investment. If I'm the investor, I want to dictate my statement for me. And when he went to his for his AK-47 and said he would shoot me in a police station, came to police station. And when they were going to lock us up for wandering, they told these inmates, suspected, that they should beat us seriously, especially me, for being stubborn. That is the practice in the Nigerian police force.
Yeah,
So now the police is resisting such correction because they have been profiting from it.
Now we will have time to talk about the police. Now, well, the allegation that those thoughts were hired by the government, it looks like you're on the side of it. Do you?
I won't say government, but I would say political exposed persons.
But they are part of the government. We don't have to sugarcoat it.
They are politically exposed persons where the relevance and patronage is either with government or somebody in government. But it's not rocket science, like Fashba used to say. It's not Fashba says it's not rocket science when it was in opposition. But now as in government, it's now rocket science.
The thing is, whether directly or indirectly that these people were hired by politicians is not a question. These people are the people that we are accusing, for instance, are the people that made these boys, like one of the musicians sang, the monsters you made.
Exactly.
These are the monsters that came out. Whether the government or the politicians sent them or not, they were emboldened by the affiliation that they have with these people that we're talking about. These people are just a call away from the persons that matter in our society, so they can do whatever they want to do. Like he asked, have you seen anybody indicted? Have you seen anybody arrested? Have you seen anybody prosecuted? It's just now that this thing has degenerated, that we've seen that Lagos State government has been prosecuting some policemen who were involved in this or that. You know, that's history. What about what happened now? These boys are on the streets, and these politicians know them, whether we like it or not. They know them.
Now let's talk about.
I want to say something about that.
Okay. Yes. Now it's all related. Now let's talk about the Lekki shooting by the army or folks disguising as army. I mean, it's all a bit confusing. What do you think? Because a lot of eyewitnesses have said they're army because, of course, they're wearing the army uniform, the army camouflage, and the army people have come out to say it is not them. And there seems to be like a middle consensus that, okay, if they're not army, the government must have, hired these thugs and dressed them in army uniforms.
Let me say this, and I did mention this, few minutes ago. Until Nigerians are ready to ask for the truth, stand by the truth, because only the truth will set us free. See, these were young protesters demanding for their constitutional rights. How come that at a particular point when some of us expected that some politicians, even what will really have taken Mr. President to just show up there? In some other countries, a president that is pro people will just appear and say, young boys, what do you really want? I have told you that I'm going to disband this SARS. Believe us, trust in us. Do you get what I'm saying? That aspect of the trust, because in every relationship, the element of trust is the key. Is the key element. Now, what we have seen is that some people were not comfortable with it for one political ambition or the other. And then you ask yourself, who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces? Who will, and who are those that, when you look at the architecture, the security architecture, have the power, have the authority to say the soldiers, I mean, should go out there and this thing. Now there's a controversy. The Lagos state government insists that it is the military that carried out that, killings. And if you read one of the papers this morning, retired military men in their own group have come up to that it is the military that carried out that, attack. Very heinous crime.
The military.
So, I mean, that is the question we all should ask. And we are saying that at the end of the day, those who instigated it, whoever gave the command, those soldiers that were sent, and whatever things that were carried out, we should know the truth. DJ Switch, for instance, has given out a lot of relevant information with regards to this. That about 15 people were killed, but the mistake that they made at that time was that most of these people that were killed were carried, I mean, their dead bodies were carried by the same soldiers and taken away. So the video they have brought up, they are now saying that they were photoshopped or manipulated. So what is really, I mean, two things have come out from here. We have scarce regard for the sanctity and sacredness of human life here in Nigeria. It is God for us, everybody for himself. Then we have a situation on ground whereby you cannot come out to say the truth, which means let me tell you, if that suggestion I made that one very influential politician should have come out to meet with these young people, then it will not have degenerated into this level. So what we are asking for now is that, because people are saying peace, we want peace. Yes, we need peace, but there is no peace without what? Justice. Then here is, you have a country where there is what? Impunity, crass impunity of the highest order. There is one of my essays I asked, some 5 years ago. Is impunity our middle name? People do the wrong thing, and then you slap them on the wrist and you say, go and see no more. I'm one of those, concerned Nigerians that I have cried out severally that you must never give amnesty to terrorists, to killers. Because what lesson are you giving out? It's like you are the father of you are a family, you are the head of the family. There's a very stubborn child of yours, he's doing the wrong thing and you keep, pampering him. Then the others, I mean, we are human beings. They will learn. They will now say, okay, if you are covering the ills of this fellow, then we too can do the same. Okay. You use our own government money to, more or less feed and even educate those who have killed, and because they say they are repentant. Repentant what? See, in government, you have, like Mao Zedong said, you should be ruthless with those who are ruthless. And you should be, mild with those who are, law-abiding.
Thuggery has become a very lucrative business in Nigeria, and it is made so by the people who are governing us. We know this. But from what he has said, there's another question that comes out from the Lekki shooting. There was a curfew that was supposed to start at 4. After consultation, according to the governor, he now moved it to 10. Which means the police, the army, and whoever was supposed to be there to make sure there was law and order was already on ground and standing by. According to the governor, he said they shouldn't harass anybody until it is like 10, 11 in the night. But the shooting started at 7.
Where were those security agents?
Where were there that was supposed to be on standby when other people who were not army were shooting innocent people? That is the question they cannot answer. As we speak, the governor said, or he says that he's trying to talk to the hierarchy of the army to find out what really happened in that place, because he doesn't know how the chain of command is and all that. We are waiting. He also claims that
how will you know how the chain of command
works
as the governor?
He also claims that the LCC and all the companies that are within that area where the shooting took place were the ones that did what they did, putting off the light, taking off cameras that they are not CCTV cameras, according to him. They are cameras that take note of your plate numbers if you violate and all that, those kind of cameras. So the companies removed them. Now, what is the connection between a peaceful protest and you switching off the lights because you know that because of a curfew you will not be in that place? Do you need to be there to advertise what you are doing? So there are so many questions that are coming.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to talk about and so many layers to all of it, but we just have a 1 hour program. So if you just tune into the Spectrum on Galaxy Television, let's watch the president's broadcast. We'll be right back.
So-called protesters have invaded an international airport and in the process disrupted the travel plans of fellow Nigerians and our visitors. All this executed in the name of the End SARS protests. I am indeed deeply pained that innocent lives have been lost. These tragedies are uncalled for and unnecessary. Certainly, there is no way whatsoever to connect these bad acts to legitimate expression of grievance of the youth of our country. The spreading of deliberate falsehood and misinformation through the social media in particular, that this government is oblivious to the pains and plight of the citizens is a ploy to mislead the unwary within and outside Nigeria into unfair judgment and disruptive behavior.
That was a broadcast of the President Muhammadu Buhari after the shooting. I mean, after weeks, it was like Nigerians had to cry for him to at least address the nation, you know. And after addressing the nation, he took out a lot of key, elements. So, what would you say you took from that broadcast?
First of all, is that it didn't matter what happened in Lekki to the president. It didn't matter because that was not a speech that Nigerians were crying for him to come and give.
It looks like a speech that was written a few days,
it was,
a few weeks
for me,
before the actual event.
For me, it was just a warning to the youths that he labeled the so-called protesters and to the international community, which he thinks or he claims that had no information. Before this shooting, the American embassy closed down. They had intelligence information. We don't know how that happened, but they closed down. So he now told the...
I can tell you that happened.
Okay, so this very second paragraph, he started warning people, the people who did this, people who did that, and never mentioned anything about the shooting. Even though the spokesman, Femi Adesina, has come out to say that this thing, he couldn't have said it because they were still investigating, but he was bold enough to say his heart goes out to the fallen heroes, the police that lost their life in the process. So he was able to know that the police lost their lives, but the ordinary citizen didn't lose their life. They needed to investigate before that time. It was a disappointing speech as far as I'm concerned, and it didn't show any empathy, it didn't show any concern for the life of the youths, and he just wanted to tell them, like the Nigerian factor has become now, do you know who is boss? You know who I be? That's what the speech was, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what any other person heard, but I thought I wasted 12 minutes.
Thank you very much. In fact, I responded immediately. I mean, that was when, as the national president of the Guild of Public Affairs Analysts, I had to release a press give a press release because I was highly disappointed in that speech. One, this is a government that never agrees that it makes any mistake. A government that must never be criticized. I mean, is the government there for those just there in power, or is the government there for the people? I mean, there was no mention of the Lekki, massacre that everybody was trying to see if he could empathize or if he could show sympathy, or even talk about any form of compensation for the victims or those who are still alive and or the families of those who had lost their lives. Nothing of that nature. And one felt that this would have been a golden opportunity, for instance, instead of reeling out so many things that they have done, for the youth, if those programs and policies that you have enunciated, that you are praising yourself for, your administration for, if they had worked very well, will the youth be out there on the street revolting or protesting? No, it wouldn't have happened. It has just shown that your policies have not made the desired impact. And you should have used that opportunity to admit that, oh, my government came up with social programs, but we have now realized from your grievances and your protests that they've not made enough impact. We are going to retool, we are going to think outside the box and do something new. So that one, he missed that opportunity again. See, we are in a democratic dispensation. We are not under a military rule. I'll tell you, about 700 BC, in Greece, ancient Greece, between Athens and Sparta, there were two forms of training of the young ones. While the Athenians were open and they were giving out, knowledge, opening the minds of the youths, the Spartans were training their own, youths in a military form. What happened? At the end of the day, democracy, came from Athens and never from Sparta. So, what type of youth are we preparing for the future with such a mindset that we have from our leaders that never make mistakes, our leaders that must not be corrected, our leaders that don't, carry out policies and programs from the wishes of the people, from the dreams and the aspirations of the people, but from their own mindset. We can't continue like this.
Now, aren't there supposed to be like a press school, a press corps rather, to help with speeches, like this? I mean, it must have gone through a process.
Ikoyi is not a nice place to be.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Oh my God! When my senior colleague kept saying golden opportunity, it's only for people that value human treasures, that value see gold and identify gold. I said some few minutes before the speech that people should save themselves the mental torture. It's going to end in premium tears. I'm not expecting anything intellectual from the presidency when it comes to speech.
But they are intellectuals working.
Body language now.
When was the last time you heard the Muhammadu Buhari as a president unscripted? That is when you can really be your true self. You can express emotions, you can respond to things spontaneously, and that will be the true state of your mind. You've never seen Muhammadu. When Muhammadu Buhari as a president has been unscripted since 2015, and the last time he gave us anything that was close to presidential, was that monthly thing?
Briefing. They used to have
presidential chat, media chat. It was in 2016, and you have to have cuts and paste. You're expecting something that will be in tune and in sync with the emotions of Nigerians. You're kidding. You see, you said press call and what have you, and I tell people this: if you want to work for somebody as a media aide, you must have seen the person, you must have understood the person, that without the person giving you a mandate, go and do this, you should be able to write and people will say, this is this man talking. And it's not like that in the presidency. They just pick from, a lot of people get there and they sell, they outsource even their reasoning to something else. Whether they like it or not, I think I've seen even better speeches from this administration. And I think this is the first time I probably need to apologize to Abba Kyari. Sincerely, he would have probably done a better job if he was alive. Now we know why he was there for that long.
So
but for me, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't expecting anything. Unscripted Buhari is a disaster.
As we round up, what is the way forward? Because obviously the way forward majorly have to be the police reform.
The way forward is the way forward. Yes, they might want to disagree with the speech or the pronouncement of the president. Yeah, they lose my amount of mere verbosity if actions are carried out. One, if your government is really serious about police reform, Lagos State government should start winning the trust, and especially Sanwo-Olu should go after Area C Command. I will pick Area C Command. We saw a picture of a lady that was brutalized, dehumanized. She was peacefully protesting. Lagos State government must start with that. You must start prosecuting police officers that assaulted and dehumanize people.
But the state governments don't have that power.
No, they do. They do.
They set up.
They do.
They set up the judicial,
No, they can do
committee.
so. When we start seeing actions like that, we start seeing police reforms. We start seeing other actions like EFCC, whatever these electoral acts has been passed, and we know they are serious, and I can forgive them. I forgive.
We've said it here, and the truth is this: there can be no peace without justice. Those who have done the wrong, who have been identified as involved in any form of inhuman activities, those that have been involved in killing, in maiming, and they should be brought to speedy justice.
Okay, finally.
Okay, let's just give the government the benefit of the doubt. They have set up a panel, and they'll be sitting there asking for memoranda of
how long will this
whatever papers. They're starting on Monday. So if you have any evidence, anything that you think should further the cause that we're fighting for right now, should be sent to that place, and let's give them some time and see how it goes.
With evidence.
Evidence. I mean, there are evidences everywhere. But unfortunately, this is where we're going to draw the curtain for this week's edition of Editors Forum. And there are so many things to talk about. There's several layers to this protest that the discussed. But I mean, fortunately, time is very short when you're having fun or we're discussing. We will. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part of the program today. Thank you so much, Mr. Iyam Golagade. Thank you for your time. Mr. Ayo Bade, thank you so much for coming. And of course, Mr. Yemi Saka, thank you so much for your time. Until next week Saturday, we'll come your way again, 1 p.m. on Galaxy Television. I mean yours sincerely, Solomon of him. Have a beautiful Saturday.